Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. Happy to present for you about Sensative, about our platform Yggio, and a little bit about Fiware and how we relate to Fiware. My name is Pettersson. I'm the CEO of Sensative, and I'm also one of three co-founders in Sensative. And today we will talk or focus on Yggio and the open source framework called Fiware. This is our vision for Sensative and the vision for Yggio. And we see Yggio as a platform that should enable a collaborative smart society. A society where you can share data within the city between different stakeholders. You can share data between cities. And you can also share services. Since in our vision for a collaborative smart society, we have standardized interfaces, standardized APIs, and standardized data models. And that enables everyone to develop services for a smart city and then very easily move that or port that service over to another city and just plug it in and start delivering on that service in other cities as well. So basically enabling service providers to very easily port and start selling their services to many cities, not only one city, and by doing that also giving the possibility for service providers to make better business, to monetize on the development they have done. However, this is the situation for most smart cities today. There are a large number of smart cities that are really good with a number of smart services, smart functions, but every function basically working in a silo, doing a fabulous work with that service, but not as a system and not giving the city the possibility to really put data to work, because the data is fragmented over in 20, 50 different hands by different service providers. And of course, not really creating the situation that we saw in the last picture. The same situation is not only for cities, basically any smart domains, like for buildings, real estate companies, same thing. Real estate companies have typically outsourced everything except the core business, which is managing buildings, of course. So the digital services for heating, for ventilation, for access control, for light management, and so forth has been outsourced to specialists doing a fabulous work, of course, delivering a service. But doing that as a silo, creating data fragmentation, creating vendor lock-in, and that is now actually when real estate companies try to start digitalizing and making systems of it, they need to start integrating and try to get the data from the different systems, making their own integrations with mixed results. Anyway, this fragmentation is actually creating a lot of inefficiency. McKinsey made a study a couple of years ago saying that more than 40% of the value of IoT is lost because of those silos and bad compatibility and so forth. So what are the problems here? On the technical side, there are a large number of protocols. A couple of years ago, when we started in Sensative to develop sensors, the problem was that there was a lack of standards on the protocol side. Most protocols were proprietary and owned by someone and obviously closed ecosystems. Now the problem is obviously almost the opposite. There are too many standard protocols, both wired protocols and wireless protocols, which still creates problems because those different standards are not compatible. A second problem is what I talked about before, the lock-in. The lock-in by the end-to-end services being provided and the services then locked into the installed hardware. And the service providers are also most often very specialized, which creates a requirement or demand for many verticals in order to fulfill the whole scope of the functions that is needed. So basically, this is resulting in lock-ins from hardware, from service, and from data, and also poor utilization of the hardware, since the hardware can only be used for one service. Touched upon that already. The data is collected and owned by each service provider, so the data becomes fragmented, and it's not only fragmented in the storage, but also stored in different data formats. So it's very difficult for any property owner, city or real estate company or anyone else, to really start using the data because, stored in different ways and in different data formats. Challenge. Also on the business side, there are some things that needs to be developed for smart collaboration. The property owners need to take the ownership of the digital journey, stop the fragmentation, take ownership of the infrastructure, both the technical infrastructure, network and devices, as well as the data, and acquire the tools, the platforms you need in order to take that ownership. And also build up your competence and your partner's competence so that you can take this digital ownership. Part of that is also to change how you purchase new services. Instead of purchasing the total end-to-end service with hardware and service and SLAs and everything as one, in this new model with a smart middleware, you will purchase hardware as a separate purchase, services as one, and then maybe SLAs as a separate one. You also need a number of new business models because there will be new roles, there will be needs for new SLAs and someone taking ownership for the network, for the devices, for the platforms, for the services. And maybe most important, taking the ownership and the responsibility for doing the quality assurance of the data, because there will be many services and many users now that are depending on the data. So the data needs to be in good shape. Our solution to this is a platform named Yggio. And Yggio is a middleware platform. It's a platform that connects all the devices in a city or in a building and creates a single API and a standardized interface with data models so that service providers can easily connect to devices and the data through Yggio. So the main point for us is to connect everything and have a single interface for service providers, making it easy for service providers. But we also open up then a competitive market, a heterogeneous market of service providers that can then deliver data-driven services for the building or for the city or for any other smart domain. When looking into the platform more in detail, first of all, I should say our platform is a standardized platform. It's the same platform we use for all customers. Doesn't matter if it's a real estate customer, a utility customer, or a city customer. Even we have home care services, we have the shipping industry, we have industrial customers, agricultural customers, even sport arenas as our customers. Exactly the same platform, meaning, of course, exactly the same API, exactly the same data models being used. That opens up the possibility for sharing data and sharing services and so forth. The main core function in the platform is a data broker. A data broker that we have developed ourselves called Ratatosk. I think you will hear more about that here today. That data broker is a function that makes sure that the correct data and devices can only be accessed by the people, the users, and the services that are allowed to get access. In the platform also we have data lakes and security and rule engine enhanced with AI and machine learning. A middleware platform then fixes everything, maybe. Well, there are a number of advantages with a middleware platform that comes directly. First of all, a middleware platform will connect everything and make that available through an API. So all the devices, all the data is in a single system, and we can normalize the data. So for a service, you don't need to know exactly what brand or what or radio protocol a specific sensor use. You only need to know its temperature. We also solved the problem with lock-ins because the hardware and the services can be purchased separately, and that decreases the lock-in effects for our customers. But at the same time, it also increases the possibility for service providers to really connect and sell their service to multiple customers. So it's a win-win for everyone involved. And vertical services then, and the number of vertical service provider become an asset for our customers, not a silo problem. It's an asset. And hardware with our middleware, a specific hardware such as a temperature sensor again, you as a property owner can then set the access rights to that temperature sensor to many users and many services. So you can reuse the hardware, and then that will give you much better usage of investment in this temperature sensor. And of course, I said it before, all the data is stored in our platform Yggio, so ready to be used. Also the historical data, which means that you're always in control, and whatever happens, you have the data available. You can even export all the data if you like to change something. But a number of challenges remain. First of all, a middleware is just a middleware, and we need to have services that provides a data-driven value on top of Yggio. So one of the things that we are working with is to create an ecosystem of partners, and the obvious one are service providers doing the data-driven services on top. But also we work hard to create relations with system integrators that can take our platform and services and hardware and so forth and create solutions for our customers. And we need ecosystems of partners that are installers and operators and so forth. So it's a rather large ecosystem that we have taken the challenge to build up. Another challenge, which is important, we believe we need to have a recognized API. We decided several years ago that we shouldn't try to invent our own API, even if we started developing our own. But we were always looking for another solution so that we didn't need to create our own API and make that accepted by everyone. And also we needed to have data models, a large library of data models for a number of different domains. We were very happy when we found Fiware and our friends in Holland, Sensative, that has been using Fiware for many years before we started. So we're now a gold member in the Fiware Association, and very happy to utilize and support the Fiware going forward, so that we can all benefit from standards supported by Fiware. Another challenge, and we learned this lesson very hard when I was working for Sony Ericsson and Sony in the mobile phone business, and starting up with Symbian as the operating system for smartphones, and we saw Microsoft having their operating system for smartphones. And as you know, both Microsoft and Symbian failed because we didn't manage to make it easy for app developers to deliver apps, develop apps, deliver apps, and monetize, get rich in English, on their apps. And that is really key for us here. And I know it's key also for Fiware that we need to make it easy for service providers to really make good business. So we need to set up a good marketplace for Fiware compatible services, and we need to make it as plug and play as possible for service providers to connect their service to any smart city or smart building in the world. So, why did we choose Fiware? We actually started up already 2015 in a project, Vinnova project, funded project called Open API for Real Estates, with the very clear mission to find our strategy regarding the API. As I said before, we know that would be a challenge to develop our own. At the time, it wasn't clear at all that we should use Fiware, so we started a number of different companies and existing APIs to try to decide. However, we concluded in that project, 2016, that we shouldn't try to develop our own and establish our own. We should leverage on an existing API, open API. And in January 2017, I got a mail from Leo de Mere, who was at the time working for CTS, a company that we were partnering up with for Seaware Gateways. Leo de Mere, who is Dutch, introduced me to his old friend Arjen Hoff and the Dutch company Civity. And Arjen and Civity have been working with smart cities and Fiware since several years. And Arjen introduced me to Fiware, and I started to realize that Fiware was probably this existing open API that we should try to leverage. So we decided to do that. We also started to look into the business models for Civity and for Sensative and realized that we were really complementary. And we both saw the benefit of Fiware. And since the Sensative platform is very much an automation platform, and the Civity platform is much more of a storage and data managed platform for cities. Both have, Civity have had at the time the Fiware API already and the Fiware data models, and we realized that Fiware was the best choice for us going forward. So once we took that decision, we had a common API and a common data model and the complementary platform. So we have been collaborating since 2017. I'm very happy about this collaboration. So we decided to go with Fiware. And Fiware as such, you will hear more about Fiware today, but I have a standardized API, currently NGSI v2 is the name of the API. In development or in specification right now, there's a second generation, which is linked data. So you can have a lot more metadata on top of the API call. And this API is called NGSI LD, as in linked data. There's also data models for about 10 different smart domains, and around 150 cities in Europe are supporting the Fiware in an initiative called Open and Agile Smart Cities. And the benefit of having 150 cities already committed to Fiware was really a good argument for us. We also saw that Fiware have a very active open source community. So lots of developers that are really working with the Fiware software and ensuring that the development is not standing still. There is continuous development in it. We found that Fiware has an alliance, really taking ownership of everything, both the technical part, but also the marketing and the business models and so forth. And the concept, Fiware Ihubs, for spreading the usage by setting up Fiware satellites, so to say, all over the world, that can then be the missionaries, so to say, of Fiware. And we have also decided that we should set up Fiware Ihub. And the last thing, we realized that not only Civity and Sensative wanted to do something with Fiware, but also the Swedish Research Institute, RISE, saw the benefit of Fiware, and we agreed and made a partnership that we should promote Fiware as a common standard in Sweden. And we opened up for RISE to use our platform Yggio, and they have their own Yggio version now called RISE UDP. And also RISE working very much now in order to really promote Fiware, running a project called City as a Platform in Sweden with, I think it's about 20 different cities in Sweden that are working on finding the good way to standardize APIs, data models, way of working, business models, and so forth to really create some coherent smart city concept in Sweden. I love that. Anyway, same picture again, but now you see Fiware in a number of places. This is now Yggio 3.0 that is Fiware compliant. So we have a data broker that is Fiware compliant. We have the CCAN data management framework from Fiware, and you support the Fiware API and Yes IB2. So yeah, now we have we have launched our Fiware journey and look forward to this journey. We have also decided to make an IHAB. We call it OIL, as in Open IoT Labs. 700 square meters office with an IoT lab, equipment, conference rooms, and so forth. We have the Lund Open Sensoring City, or some of you might know it as Smarta offentliga miljöer. It's a living lab for smart cities that we do together with the City of Lund, University of Lund, and Kraftringen, which is a fabulous network, smart city network for us to work with the Fiware IHAB. And a number of customers, of course, a number of research projects and other things that will be very useful for the IHAB. And yeah, Sensative, you know already. And that's it. That's what I intended to talk about. So thank you. And I think now you will have the pleasure to have me chatting with Arjen about the future of Fiware and something else. Thank you very much.